Welcome back to all those who checked out part one of Stine versus Pike. So here we are again, and this time around, as you can see, obviously there are two Christopher Pike books. So, like in the previous video, I mentioned that I picked up a bunch of stuff back in 1998. These two books are there, although in the case of this one, Master of Murder, it was never my intention to actually add this book to the collection. The only reason why I did was due to the character of Marvin Summers, who is the main protagonist of this book. I had encountered him in a short story collection by Christopher Pike. Okay, I can't remember what the short story collection was called now. I think it was maybe possibly called Tales of Terror. And there was a short story in it called The Fan from Hell, which was similar to Stephen King's story Misery. And that Marvin Summers by this point is now people actually know who he is. In this book, at this point, he's the best-selling author in America, but his identity is completely unknown. The real Mac, M-A-C-K, Mac Slate. Yeah, his identity is still unknown, but he is actually a very, very popular author. And so the strength of that short story was what led me to this book. And from beginning to end, it's okay. It's fine. Not the greatest story told. I mean, it's got its moments, but ultimately, it's a very, very okay book. And it's also one of those books which, again, I would classify as take it or leave it, you know. It's something to read if you've actually, ran out of material to read and it's the only book available. Then yeah, sure, it works fine under those circumstances. But in terms of the overall being a must-read Christopher Pike novel, it's definitely the one that can be discarded because it's really not that interesting on that level. Which then brings me to this book, Monster. This book is by far the most surprising book that I picked up, and mainly because, as you can see by the cover, by the title, it's designed to look as if it's about some sort of alien monster type of creature, and technically it does deal with aliens, really. As you will have progressed through the book, you'll find out that, yes, there's a bit of an extraterrestrial alien element thrown into this book. But the thing that surprises me the most is that ultimately what we deal with in this one are alien vampires. And that's the one thing I like about Christopher Pike. The one thing I can't deny about this guy is that he has this ability to take something like vampires and really push it in a direction that usually you wouldn't really expect, or, it's just a different take. Unlike in the previous video, I talked about Goodnight Kiss and Goodnight Kiss 2, both of these books focus on the same European Western vampire mythology and lore. This book has vampires, or vampire-like entities, but gives a completely different origin story. An origin story that really actually does separate itself from all the other vampire books out there. So if you are a fan of vampire fiction, I definitely recommend Monster. No, not the title fool you. This is a vampire novel, pretty much more or less. And again, Christopher Pike has a very unusual knack for tackling these types of subjects, because when I read his last vampire novel series, which I will be doing a book review of those, well, not really a book review, more like a past revisited, whether or not these books actually hold up now, compared to when I read them back in the 90s. Anyway, his last vampire series, however, was also extremely interesting because he tackled the subject of vampires and the origin of vampirism in a way that I hadn't seen before. And so the one thing I've got to say about Christopher Pike is that he is definitely one hell of a writer in terms of writing teenage fiction, and he definitely approaches subject matter from a completely different standpoint. This is probably the reason why his books actually tend to stand out in a way that I wouldn't say it puts him above other teen writers, but it does actually place him in, I guess you could say, one of those guys who just seems to have this ability to God, take stuff that sounds unconventional and somehow he makes it work. And the reason why I'm struggling to tell you about this one is because I don't want to ruin it for any of you. This book is a total surprise, and I don't want to ruin it. And the only way to do that is to tell you certain details about the story, and well, then what's the point of reading it if I'm actually going to tell you what happens? No, I can't. So on that level, I'm just going to leave it up to you to seek this book out on your own. I believe you should be able to find a pretty decent second-hand copy. Because I'm not sure if any of Christopher Pike's books have actually been re-released. Like I said, these were bought back in the 90s in their original form. But yeah, out of the two of them, Master of Murder, Monster, this is the one that I recommend. And again, if I was a movie producer and I had to, hands down, I would choose this book. I would love to see this book adapted. And I think that if Netflix have been adapting the Fear Street stuff by R.L. Stine, maybe what the guys at Netflix should be doing is looking at Christopher Pike. Because this would be my first top pick book to be adapted into a movie for Netflix, or even for Amazon Prime. So if you do get the opportunity to check this one out, this one is a definite recommend. Oh, before I forget, there you go. So now you know now that you've managed to read the back of the book, you know what you're expecting. Right then, I think I shall bring it to an end because there's no point in rambling on about, well, whatever. Till next time.